I want to say a bit about the body and the spirits. Brings us back to the dancing in churches that we looked at in the section on soil, on the earth element in the medicine wheel. And they used to have dancing in churches in medieval times, and then it got banned because people make their own connection when they dance. And you can't have that if you're trying to run a religion. It's the priest who has the connection with God, the hotline to God, not you. Of course not. So, um, in the Far East, you see the shamans, when they're doing their spirit work, they dance. Um, yeah, they sometimes have a sort of veil over their eyes, so that breaks up this reality to help them be in the other reality, and they might be drumming as well. And they're probably dressed accordingly. They're probably dressed in a garb that is that spirit, brings that spirit in. So, what do we make of that? Because that's not how we do this work. We lie down and someone drums. We've maybe got a blindfold on. And that works really well. I don't want to diss that at all. But I think it can also be limited. I mean, for some people, that's fine. It's full on. For me, yeah, the journeying, it really helped me deeply. But it always felt, this isn't quite me. It's not entirely natural. And then it just started really falling apart. So I knew there's some other way that I need to find, or that needs to find me. So what happened is that I was doing trance dance, which is dancing to drums. And you often do it blindfold in this culture. So that everyone's blindfold, so that you don't have to worry about what you look like, because we get very self-conscious with these things, particularly with the body. I don't need to do it blindfold anymore. I don't mind. Yeah, I'm happy with doing strange movements, and I don't mind if anyone watches me. Um, but we do get self-conscious, so the blindfold can help. But you're dancing often to like live drums, and that just gets into you. That beat, it gets into your body, and your body takes off. It has a life of its own, a force of its own. And I've been doing this trance dance for a while. This is about the year 2000, and a lot was happening. And then suddenly one day, it's like I got taken over. This big presence took me over, and I'm just wandering slowly around the room. Yeah, just trying to contain this thing. Well, it wasn't containable, but be a container for it. Yeah. And people said afterwards, because it did attract quite a lot of attention, because there was a strong presence to it that people could feel. And people were saying afterwards, it was like this ancient dinosaur had entered the room after 100 million years of being extinct. And it was taking a good look around at what it was like to be on the earth again. And that does reflect the idea that the spirits do like to be embodied. They do like that experience. It is sweet. So that was my initiation. And it's been with me ever since. In a way, I've never quite known what to do with it, as if there is anything to do. There isn't anything to do. You just trust. And if it's happening, it's happening. And if you don't do it, if nothing happens for months, that's fine as well. And so I realized that is my way of journeying, because I can still, in a way, act out the journey. I can let myself be taken. I can let myself be moved. And when you do the trance dance, you can move in all sorts of ways. You might be moving really vigorously. You might be lying there in the corner, twiddling your finger. A bit like when you're tripping and you do those, sometimes you get fascinated with something tiny. It's because you're in an altered state. When you're in an altered state, when you do this, the drumming or the beat has taken you there. And it's your whole body. You've yielded your body to the spirits. They have these possession dances, like in, I think, some of the Caribbean islands, coming originally from Africa. And people get completely taken over. And when they're completely taken over by the spirits, they're just lying there still. And it's not like something's gone wrong. It's like magic has entered the village and they're taken out, carried away, and given time to come back in a spirit of celebration and rejoicing and sacredness. I mean, you couldn't have that here. I mean, what would health and safety think? Yeah, we have it very safe. And that's why I was talking about the safety aspect of the core shamanism. And it's not just the callback signal. That's just a minor instance. The main instance of it is the body. And the body takes over. The non-rational takes over. Now, when you've got this system, you've got these three worlds, and you've got power animals below and spirit guides above, and you've got the drumbeat, and you come back when you're told. Yeah, it's all very organized. In a way, it's all rational. It's providing a sort of semi-rational container for something that is essentially non-rational. And when you do this physically, when you allow the spirits to take over your body, all that structure is just blasted apart. Yeah, it's just not there. And core shamanism, it was created by an academic. In a way, it gave it a kind of respectability and a rational gloss. And as I say, it does work. But there's a whole other level to this work. When you let the body and the spirits work through the body. It's dark. It's primitive. It's the devil. It's sexual. It's got all that kind of connotation. I've had that response from people. I was once doing a demonstration, and it was like this feminine spirit, this female spirit wants to dance through me. And so I did. And it was quite sensual. It wasn't sexual, but it was sensual. It's not anti-sexual, but that's kind of, it's almost like that sort of energy is transmuted and brought upwards, but you're not trying to keep it out. But a number of people were uncomfortable with that. They were particularly people who I think they liked things. They had a teacher who would tell them what's what. And I wasn't telling them what's what. I was going, wasn't saying it, but I was doing it. It's like, all that needs to go. Yeah? And they were the ones who find it difficult. People who want to know what's what. So the lying down to drums, that's a good starting point for many people, because that's often where they need to be. They don't need this dark, primitive, African, drumbeat, devil worship. It can seem like all those things. It is something other. It is not civilized. That's the point. Shamanic work is not civilized. We try and keep it civilized. We try and keep it within bounds. We have our certificates. We have our insurance. Yeah. Fair dues up to a point, but it can be a bit milk and water. It can be a bit dilute. Okay, you might do a certain amount of good, but there's this raw energy, this raw life, this raw, and you might speak in tongues as well. I do. It's not like it's a language. It's a verbalizing, but it never repeats. That's how I know it's real, because I'm not making it up. I'm just allowing it to happen. But there's an urgency to it. If I'm doing some work for someone else, it doesn't happen very often. I'm very happy to. If someone asks, I will always say yes. There'll be the verbalizing. It's almost like that's an energy, a healing energy. There's something in it. I will never know what it is and whether it's done anything, but I know that I have to do it. And all around this is yielding. We need to yield. That's why it took me into my early 40s before I was able to do this, because I wasn't sufficiently able to yield. I had too much will. I was too much in control. I was too rational. And then this thing came in and it took me over. And it's a gift. And it's ecstatic. It's a wonderful place to go.